Welcome to the BJJ Fightgear Lockdown Talks. My name is Misha, and I'm here today with a special guest, which I will introduce in a bit. If you've been following the show for the last episodes that we did and you like everything you saw, please hit the subscribe button. And for this episode, also let us know in the comments below what you think. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments. Pro Jiu-Jitsu events are the place where we can see the crème de la crème of competitors, and they offer a platform for the next generation of fighters, upcoming fighters, to get exposed to a wider audience. Today, I talk about this with Lee Jones, a successful real estate entrepreneur from Wales, owner of Tatami Fightwear, and co-founder of Polaris, the world's most exciting pro jiu-jitsu event. Lee, welcome.
How are you, Misha? Nice to see you.
Yeah, same here. So how are you doing right now during the lockdown? I can see you're at home. How are things going?
I'm at home. Yeah. I continue to do much of my work at home, which is it's office-based work, but you can do it. You have a laptop. Our laptop will travel, so it's easy to set up at home.
Right.
It's fine. You know, everybody's going a little stir crazy, I guess, but we're coping.
Yeah.
Treading water, keeping our heads above it.
Right. Yeah. We have this show on YouTube. We also do it on the audio version on Spotify and iTunes. For people that can't see you right now and that maybe don't know you from tournaments or something, could I say that you remind people maybe a little bit about Jack Sparrow?
Yeah, you can you can say that.
I think it's a positive. I would say it in a positive way. You don't have the mustache anymore, but
no, I don't. Not anymore. My wife did. She made me get rid of the mustache. She said I was looking too much like Johnny Depp. Is this such a thing? I don't know.
Yeah, Johnny Depp. I mean, a big lady killer, right? So.
Yeah, you need to tell you guys on Spotify, I'm certainly not the lady killer. Okay.
Not anymore. Well, I don't know. But,
yeah, maybe. Once upon a time.
Yeah. So, how's it going for Tatami right now? Is there a lot of things going on in terms of the competitors that you guys sponsor, or how's it going?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a particularly tough time at the moment for the whole industry. Whether you're a gym owner or you own a brand of clothing or anything that's related to any close contact martial arts, it is a very difficult time. So, we're doing our best to keep our heads above water. You know, we're doing it. It's difficult. We got some staff working from home. Some staff we've had to put on furlough. I don't know if you get that in other countries, but it's where the government pays 80% of some of the staff's wages. They just stay at home. They don't work for the company, but they're part of the company. They come back when everything is over and the virus is gone. But it's difficult. We try to work remotely from home, get Zoom meetings, and it's not difficult. It's not easy when we're not in the same office. So for that end, it's quite it's extra stress on every member of staff,
right?
And certainly the directors and managers. It is quite difficult, and we're also trying to use this time to revamp things within the company, maybe to sail out a lot of our products or end of line and stuff that we would ordinarily hang on to for another 12 or 18 months. So maybe we're considering, let's replace certain products with a fresh new look when we come back from the COVID lockdown, or in general from the pandemic. So we're trying to make amends to the website as well, to try and adjust certain parts of the website that make it a better shopping experience, both for our B2B customers and our retail customers. So we try to make adjustments, looking for better shipping companies and things we wouldn't ordinarily have time to do. We kind of have a little bit more time in our hands now, and we're trying to use it wisely.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Always things to improve and to get better out of this. Let's go back a little bit to the time where you started Tatami Fightwear. How did that come about? It's obviously a story you probably told many times to different people, but how did you get involved in the jiu-jitsu scene, and how did you start the company?
Well, I mean, my interest in martial arts was from when I was a young lad. I did judo from the age of I think it was about 8 years old, and I did it through my teenage years, and I stopped for a couple of years. I joined the military. I went to the Royal Air Force, and I did it a little bit while I was in the Air Force. It was just training. I didn't compete then after the age of about 16, but it was just training. I enjoyed the judo, and had my children. and I had an accident in work, and I had some horrific injuries in work where I broke my back in a couple of places and some other injuries. But I had children, and I wanted them to do martial arts, and Jiu Jitsu was still relatively new in the UK then. So I said to them, look, they'd done karate, and I think they got the brown belt with karate and things. They just kind of lost a bit of interest in karate. So, to the kids, you need to keep up with a martial art. I said, look, Jiu Jitsu, BJJ it's a good thing. I wish it had been around when I was a young lad, and
right.
I've certainly still been doing it now. So I took him up to a local club, and there wasn't many clubs in Wales in the UK then. So in England there were quite a few clubs, but in Wales not so many. So I found a club with just a small number of members, about 6 or 8 members in it. And in one of those, a youngster in that class was a young Gareth Dummer, who's of course the other owner of Tatami as well. He's the other director, along with myself. But Gareth was in his early 20s. And, we used to travel to Lisbon for the Euros, take our families and go with all the other families in the club, or the few families that were there, into the club. But, it's a sense of community, as everybody knows in the BJJ world. It is a sense of community. So although I wasn't practicing martial arts, and especially BJJ, because of obviously my injuries and things, I still felt part of the community. And it was great. It was fantastic. And the kids were enjoying it. The kids are now men, by the way, I should tell you that.
Yeah.
One of them's at home with me now. He's 25 years old, 6'3". So that was it. So we were coming home from one Lisbon trip of the Euros, and we were flying back on the aircraft, and Gareth and I were sat next to each other. And Gareth was expressing an interest. He said, I'd love to have my own gi company. Got some ideas, and and I'd really like to set something up. And I knew he had some skills and some tools for a little bit of design, and he could build a basic website and things. But there was the one thing that was failing him, and he didn't have any money to invest. So I said, okay, let's. I'm happy to invest some money, and let's give it a go, because it was something I was doing a little bit of property on the side, as I've always done for about the last 25 years. And I wanted something perhaps a little bit more substantial on a day-to-day basis. So I said, I'll put some money and I'll invest into this, and we'll set it up together for Gareth to run ultimately. And it was all for me to put the money in, set it up for about the first 12 months, and me to step back, move back into some more property. But
that never happened.
It didn't work that way. It did. It grabbed me, and I couldn't leave Gareth on his own. It was getting too busy. It was a bit of a monster, and it was gathering momentum and gaining speed, and it was wow.
How big did it get compared to maybe what you expected at the time, when you were in that airplane? You said, let's try it out. Then
I thought we'd try it out, and we'd get I get a little subsidiary income on the side. I thought maybe to start with it would be great, and it was like that for the first, I think it was 14 months. There was no income. There was nothing at all. Gareth was working a part-time job, and so as he could do part-time with Tatami and part-time with another job. So just as he could have some kind of an income. I think he was earning something crazy like £500 a month. So, in dollars, that's about $700 or so. And in euros, maybe about 550, 600 at the most. So he did that for about 6 to 8 months, just as he could have some money to run his car and, buy some food and things. And so after about 14 months, we were able to take a small salary. But it was around about that time where things started to explode, when we did a video. We sponsored Fernando Terere when he came back into the sport. As most people will be aware, Terere had been out of the sport for some time with illness. And when he came back into it, we sponsored him and did a short video on him. And it became a bit of a smaller mini YouTube sensation. And I think the brand name got out there quite quickly. And from that point, I think that was when things started to grow very, very quickly. The first 14 months went as I'd expected, where the growth was somewhat, we selling 1 gi a week for the first couple of months, and then you were selling 5 gis a week, and it was kind of how we expected. And then it kind of went quite quickly. Sponsored a couple of low-level athletes or mid-level athletes, and and that was it. It was Academy started coming to us for their product, and it grew from there. And it just went very quickly then. So
and the rest is history.
Yes.
You talked about those early days that Jiu-Jitsu wasn't so developed yet in Wales, for example, at least not to the extent that there were a lot of schools yet. What's the biggest difference you see in Jiu-Jitsu today compared to then? So that we're talking about 2007 or something like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, back then, especially in Wales, and even a lot in England, again, there were small, I'll say clubs or academies, but they were maybe small church halls with 6, 8 guys in it. Some were bigger, 20 guys, but perhaps they were run by a blue belt or maybe a purple belt, because there were no browns and blacks. There were a couple and a few of them, and if you were lucky enough to be in one of those academies to have some coaching by some of the early black belts, or perhaps under their brown belts, then you were a very lucky person indeed. But especially down here in South Wales, it was hard to get anybody to come down on a regular basis to take some classes. So it was a slow progression down here. But of course, things have changed down here now. In the last 10 years, things have grown quite rapidly, and there's so many black belts, and we have a number of UFC fighters, and things have progressed so much. There's some full-time gyms here. It's become some very good. It's become a decent area to train in. If you go to London and there's a whole glut of gyms that you can choose with a whole host of fantastic guys to train with. Of course, because we're so limited in South Wales, but some people have invested money into the facilities and have made it great places to train. I mean, if you live in the Gwent Valleys, and I don't expect your viewers to know where that is, but it's an old coal mine in valleys, and when the coal mines closed, there's not an awful lot of work for them there. There wasn't a lot of recreation for them to do. There was nothing to do. So when you've got guys up there who set up full-time academies, full 2-story academies and the like, that's really, really, really great for the town, for the area, because these valleys don't have an awful lot else to do, and the council don't have a great deal of money to invest in sports and recreation for the local people. So it's a very good. Somebody's taking the initiative. A lot of guys taking the initiative to set up these academies, and good on them, providing good service for the people.
And a good opportunity for them as well. Then,
of course, and they churning out UFC fighters. You know what I mean?
Right.
Show martial arts in Abertillery. It's got 2 UFC fighters in a village that was a coal mining village. You'd never expect that.
What are not just Welsh competitors, but what are some of the big names in terms of competitors that Tatami has worked with over the years?
As I say, the very first name we sponsored was a guy who's coming back. He wasn't the first sponsor. He was the first sort of big name known him was Fernando Terade. So that was a name that got our name put onto the map. So after that, I guess a guy who's been with us for a very long time, and you have to say, being 2 times ADCC champion, is JT Torres. We've been working together for many, many years. I can't maybe about 6 or 7 years with JT. When he was young and he first went to Atos, train with Andre Galvao. We managed to get hold of his sponsorship, and we've worked together with him for quite some time, and it's been fantastic. He's currently a 2 times ADCC champion. It couldn't get any better for us to have a name like that, or could it? I don't know. Then you've got currently about number 1 contender, and July the 11th about to fight for a UFC title, is Gilbert Burns. Gilbert's been with us for quite some time, and we've managed to get him to compete on Polaris for us as well. He's brought his wife and his children over here, and they're a lovely family, and he's doing superb in the UFC. So July the 11th, Gilbert's flying the flag for Tatami. We got Josh Hinger on board, who's had a rip roaring ADCC, and he caught our eyes, and Gareth was quite taken in by Josh. So we've been working with Josh this year as well. And then there's a lot of British guys that are very high level and very, very, very good. Ross Nichols, who also fought and did very well, took JT all the way in ADCC last year. Ross Nichols has got to be one of the best in Europe. Right. There are other guys, and I apologise, guys, if I've missed any of you. From an MMA perspective, we do have the Welsh lads. We got Jack Shaw, who's up, who's a Swansea lad from Portadown, and we've also got Jack Shaw's from Abertillery from Shaw Martial Arts, and Brett Johns from Portadown. But both UFC guys. So we got those guys from an MMA perspective. So it's quite a broad spectrum. There are hundreds of tatami sponsors, kit sponsors, and the like. So
Right.
I apologize. I apologize. I can't mention every time.
We can do a separate episode to go through all of them. But what I noticed, there's a lot of sponsored athletes that seem to be a bit brand hopping, and they change pretty quickly onto the next opportunity or some other hip brand that they can get connected with. But Tatami seems to be one of the brands that have been able to really get some loyal sponsored athletes connected to them that stay for a longer period of time. Why do you think this? You've been able to do this, or how?
Well, I don't really know. I mean, we try to work with the guys as best as we can because we want longevity. We want guys to stay with us, and we want them to be associated with the brand, and we want our brand to be associated with them. I think that works long term.
Yeah.
The kinds of athletes, and Roger Federer. When you think of Roger Federer, you think of, well, he has his own brand, but then he's got he's tied in. Well, not so much anymore, but he's Uniqlo, if I remember at the moment. But he was Nike, and or Gillette, the sponsor for the shavers and the like. You associate these athletes with these brands, and the brands with the athletes, and I think it's good for a brand. It's good for an athlete. Unfortunately, I think a lot of athletes believe that there's a lot more money in jiu-jitsu and in the companies than there really is. It's hard to convince otherwise that we push ourselves to the limit. So I think sometimes maybe, and I don't know, I can't speak for every athlete, but maybe an athlete is looking to jump to another brand because they think there's a better deal for them, because it's at the end of the day, it's they live in, it's financial, and they have to make as much money as they can for the brand. So we're trying to hold on to guys. Not everybody. There's very few athletes are paid actual cash. Most guys, it's through product, through clothing sponsorship, or even you give them a bunch of product, custom product that they can sell to their students in their academy, and they can make some money that way. So it's kind of all done like that. There's very few, I think, in the industry. You've got to be at the very, very top of your game before you actually get a company to part with cash. But you've just got to be super nice, and you've got to work together. And if you're a nice athlete and you're a nice company, well, it's a good marriage. Right.
Yeah. That makes total sense.
So, yeah. I don't know what the secret formula is. I really don't. We do what we do, and it kind of works. So
yeah. Yeah. Cheers. Let's talk about Polaris. What's the situation right now like related to the lockdown and, for example, the July event, Polaris 13? Is it still going to be continuing as scheduled, or are you guys not sure yet?
Yeah, well, we've been working closely with the UK BJJ to try and get events to happen. We want athletes to be able to compete so they can got a chance to earn some money. We want to put a show on. And I know UFC Fight Pass are keen for us to provide content for them. As long as we can do it legally and safely, that's our intention. So we've had the word, having spoken to the UK BJJ, we've had the word that there is a way we can put a behind closed doors event on for Polaris. And it will only be UK fighters, simply because, we believe at the moment, we think it might only be UK fighters because of
quarantine.
Hotels. We can't get hotels. You can fly guys in, but they'd have to fly home the same day. Well, it's not. That might be a bit difficult to do that, and they might be a little bit tired. So hotels and hygiene and everything else. So we're going to try and make it so that we can get UK athletes to an event, compete, and then they can get home in the same day. It's going to be a long old day for them, but we're just trying to get some live sports, some live jiu-jitsu and some competitive jiu-jitsu back up for people, for a small number of guys to compete and for everybody else to watch.
Right. Yeah. Because you can't have a crowd there as you did in.
There's no crowd.
No.
That's a shame. It's going to be that's going to be. I mean, of course, we lose revenue from that, so we try to make it as affordable as we can to allow for the loss of what we call bums on seats. We have to make allowances for that. And we have to make sure that we don't. We're at break-even point for the event because it's not the loss of revenue from admission fees alone is going to be quite trying for us.
Yeah. I mean, I can imagine that's a crazy situation from a business point of view. If you just, if you would look at a normal situation, what are the biggest challenges in running a pro jiu-jitsu event?
Matchmaking is. I mean, I don't get involved greatly in matchmaking. But I know matchmaking is quite a strain, trying to make the best fight that you can make, and to think it's going to be as exciting and as well received by the public. You can't please all the people all the time, not even some of the time, to be honest with you. But trying to make a good event that's going to be exciting is quite difficult. I mean, logistics, we seem to have it quite well now. We've got our full-time employee Sophie, she's our events organizer coordinator. She does an amazing job of coordinating everything, and everything moves quite slick. We use the same companies for the filming, the lighting, and things, and everybody works together. So logistically, and the running of the show seems to be quite good. I think it's dealing with so many fighters, trying to coordinate and organise them, getting into weigh-ins and getting them into the country, and the fighters have different personalities as well. So you kind of you have to behave differently with them and treat them a little bit differently, because not everybody's the same. They all got quirks and eccentricities. They like to do certain things certain ways. So, and we have to make sure that we make them as comfortable as we can when they're on the event. So I mean, I guess matchmaking and handling fighter logistics, because of course they come in from over the world. They come in from Japan, sometimes Australia, America, definitely, and Europe. So it's trying to get everything. I suppose the people aspect is the hardest thing. The actual running of the show, the engineering of the show is probably the easiest part.
And did you ever come across some well-known fighters that had very kind of diva-like requirements? Like, I want my dressing room to look like this, and
what is this? What are you trying to do? You trying to trip me up? You trying to tie me into the
Well, you don't need to call any names.
They're all wonderful people. No, they're all wonderful people. Stop that now. No, there's not. We've never come across any divas. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We got. There's plenty of guys, plenty of competitors and fighters who have eccentricities and like things in certain ways, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
You should try living with me. I got my little quirks, and they're not good. But these guys, I don't think there's ever been one diva. I think perhaps they get rooted out before they get to the Polaris event. We take the diva out of them, and either they don't come on the event or they diva-less by the time they get to us. But most of the guys are sweethearts. I'll be quite honest with you. They're all pretty good. They're there to do a job, and they're there to entertain the crowd. But we like to look after them as best we can.
Of course, yeah, and I think you can see that from the event also, that everything looks good, everybody is happy. Maybe, I don't know if you want to talk about this, but I was wondering, why did you guys switch from FloGrappling to UFC Fight Pass at the time?
There's not much to say, really. We switched from FloGrappling. The numbers, we lost a lot of money when we went with FloGrappling, and it was the biggest loss we'd had even to date now. And we couldn't afford to lose any further money with it. So we didn't jump to UFC Fight Pass. It wasn't that we ditched Flo, we go to UFC Fight Pass. That didn't happen. We were doing one more event because we'd lost so much money. So look, let's do one more event and let's see if we can make it work. And we do it ourselves, and we'll put it out live ourselves. We'll stream it through our own platform, a Facebook Live platform, and we just take our own pay-per-views and we just do it that way. And that was the plan, just to see if we could recoup some of the money that we'd lost on the previous event. And there was no spat or falling out. We think Flo were doing a fantastic job. Yeah. In other areas, they really are doing it. But we were their first live show, you see, and and it scared us to have lost so much money. But out of the blue, UFC Fight Pass came in, and they came in with a very solid offer. And we said, well, actually, we can, even if we just break even on this, we can still continue with it. So, and that was it, I guess.
Yeah,
It was all for the survival of Polaris, I guess. If we didn't go to the UFC Fight Pass, we probably wouldn't have survived.
Yeah. So it was a necessary step for the continuation of the event. Yeah. The Polaris after parties are kind of well known, infamous. maybe.
They used to be.
Yeah.
I'm too old for that now. I'm too old.
Is there one story that you would like to share? Something funny that ever happened, or is that a no comment area?
I mean, there have been some funny stories, and I probably shouldn't share them
Maybe
for the general public. There's been quite a few, but I mean, aside from that, I mean, I don't know. It was great fun to see some high level athletes dancing in the hotel last November. And upsetting some of the locals, but I'm not mentioning no names. And then we took them partying to capital city in Wales, so that was kind of fun. But I'm not mentioning any names there. But it was those kinds of things, just high spirits and jovial spirit, shall we say? But there's nothing really no tales to tell really. Most of the guys, they fight, they compete, they're athletes. They go to sleep. They maybe have a coffee or something and go to bed then by midnight. So there's not many guys do a party. And I tried to get some guys to come partying, but that was the old me. That was the younger me.
Right. Yeah, it's maybe even harder to get them to party at all than the other way around. If some people are looking, competitors are looking, upcoming competitors, athletes that would kind of dream of being on Polaris one day. Obviously, you just need to get really good and win competitions to catch your eye. But what would you advise people to? Because obviously there are maybe people that are just as good, but that didn't get on Polaris. What are things that you are looking for in an athlete to get them there?
Well, I'll be quite honest with you. The other guys, quite largely Matt and Gareth, they know athletes that I've never heard of, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm saying, well, I've never looked at this guy. I've never seen this guy. And I don't know how do they find these guys? And I'm not seeing them competing at IBJJF. I don't see them. How do they know where these guys are and how good that they are? I really don't. I don't know. But I'm learning. We get people all the time email into the Polaris email address or contact into the social media. Say, I want to be on Polaris, And, we take everyone into account and we look at them and perhaps do a bit of research on them if we're not so sure about their credibility. Like as you say, you just got to keep entering and winning, and being excited, winning excitedly, because Polaris is submission only. So we want to see exciting fighters. I mean, one of the guys I brought into Polaris was, and everybody knows him now, but in the early days was Tommy Langaker. He was a guy that I found him when I was in Sweden with the Swedish Open, and he was brought to my attention in Sweden. So we got a sponsorship deal with Tommy, which is one of the guys I should have mentioned earlier. My apologies, Tommy. So we got a sponsorship deal going with Tommy. And of course, Tommy was still a relatively unknown then. And then all of a sudden he comes to the Euros the following January. He submits eBirth, and then, he's this sensation. And of course, believe it or not, I had to try and nag the guys, the rest of the directors of Polaris, to get him onto Polaris because he only fights in the gi.
Yeah.
And we got him on the undercard. We got him on the undercard, and I thought, well, that's something. That's a step. I said, right, Tommy, get in and show him what you can do. And of course, the rest is history, because he is like, I don't know what he's like. He's like superhuman in the gi, and he makes it so exciting. Everybody says no gi is more exciting for these submission-only events, but when it comes to Tommy Langaker, I beg to differ. He's just as exciting as anybody in no gi. So I mean, if you can be as exciting as that, whether it's in the gi or the no gi, and you're a good level and you got some good scalps, you can get in touch. And we certainly bear you in mind, or you will be found, because I know that Matthew and Gareth and Ben, to a degree, they got their eyes open. They've got their eyes open wide.
Right. Yeah. They'll probably find you if you're good enough.
Good enough, yeah.
I have a bit of a Shark Tank section with some brief questions. You can have a yes or no, or just the first thing that pops into your mind.
Okay.
ADCC or IBJJF?
For excitement, ADCC.
Yeah. Real estate or gi business? If you had to drop either one of them.
Passion, real estate.
Yeah. Money is?
Sorry, was that one?
Money is, you can...
Money is essential.
Right. Not the root of all evil.
I did consider that one, but it was cliche. You need money to live.
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
Essential. Yeah,
I'm
not saying lots of it, but some money is essential. Like say, I told you, Gareth lived off about €600 a month for about 8 to 9 months.
Yeah,
and was essentially had that to live. So that's money's essential. So,
definitely. Favorite BJJ competitor?
In the gi, Tommy Langaker. No gi, I kind of like Gary Tonin.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Favorite gi? So gi model?
Ooh.
I don't need to say that it's a tatami gi, but which model will you?
No, my favorite gi. I'm gonna go back to my old 1970s Ruckanor judo gi.
Right. So double weave.
I don't remember. I don't think it was. It was quite flexible and light, but it was it was a hand-me-down from my brother, and it was made by a brand called Ruckanor. They make table tennis balls and some other.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
I love that gi.
Yeah. Favorite whiskey?
I don't have a favorite, but I like a Macallan.
Best restaurant in Wales? If you have to pick one.
It's my local. It's a pub and an old school restaurant. It's called The Brit.
The Brit.
And it's just a few miles from my house. And they got real ale, real craft beers, and they got the most fantastic fillet steak. And tonight, because they do takeaways, tonight they do when they're homemade pizzas from there. So because I'm a good customer, I'm getting 2 pizzas and some pasta for free from the owner. Bringing it to my family tonight. So it's The Brit, without a shadow of a doubt.
I'm getting hungry right now. I might have lunch early.
I don't know if I've ever taken you there when you visit us, Misha, but I generally take anybody who comes to visit us in Wales. Yeah. I'll take them up there for some beers and some food as well, because it's a pub. It's an old.
I think we've been there. Pub. It's next to kind of a main road.
Yeah.
We've been there with Ying. Yeah. Swansea girls.
Stay away.
Stay away. The number one thing in your bucket list that you haven't done yet?
Retired.
Retired?
Retired. I think that's my bucket list in one word, retire.
Yeah.
I'll never fully retire. I've tried it. I've tried it with Tatami. I have the last couple of years since we've had some good operations manager. I try to step away from it. It's Gareth's running the company pretty much. I'm just sort of dipping in and out, if you know. Mm-hmm. So he's doing much of the work, and our manager's down there as well. So I'm trying to do a bit of semi-retirement, but since lockdown, it's kind of sucked me back in for it. So I'm we'll see. I'll never fully retire, but
just only do the nicer parts, I guess, or the most essential things that really what advice would you give to 18-year-old Lee? He still has all that ahead of him.
The 18-year-old Lee probably would have said, I was put off doing what I really wanted to do in life, which was entertaining, performance, and I play the drums now, and it's only as a hobby. It was something I could have considered as a career. So the 18-year-old Lee, I would have said, don't be put off by your parents or anybody else with what you really wanted to do, because even though I've done well with my life, it's not what I really wanted to do.
Yeah.
So follow what you really wanted to do.
Right. Follow your heart. Staying with that 18-year-old Lee, who would he really like to fight? If you already said if I had jiu-jitsu in those days, I would probably still be practicing. If you are judo or boxing, but if you could step on the mat or into the ring with somebody that people know now, who would it be? Famous fighter.
Now, somebody who's competing now. Who would I match up well with now? I mean, if I was still training, I wouldn't be the size I am, so I'd be in a lighter weight category. It would probably be somewhere around about the 205. So I don't know, maybe as a name, I don't know. You're asking me something like that. That's a real way out there question. I don't know. If I was competing at the time, I'd like to fight everybody. I would be one of these guys. I would like to say, come on, let's have a go. Let's test yourself against everybody. Who's there? Who's at the top?
Right. So that would be a bit like going back. You pretty much already answered this, but Lee in 2030.
2030.
Yeah, 10 years from now.
I don't know.
Retired.
I don't know. 10 years. Yeah. I mean, I'd like to think I'm fully retired by then. I'll be 62 by then. So I'll be slowing right down. Especially with with the injuries I had when I was in my 30s and my fractures in the spine. So yeah, I think I'd be retired. I'd like to, I'd like to travel. I think I might still be involved with the sport somewhat, and I'd still get to go to events and still see the people that I've known for 20 or 30 years, and pop into Lisbon or go to Cali for the Worlds. I'd certainly go to Vegas for the Masters. I enjoy that. That's a good trip, that is. So yeah, maybe I'd do that, but I spend more time with my wife, and maybe have a little holiday at home somewhere and just
nice.
Get out of that. That's the plan. That would be nice.
Sounds good. And where do you see Tatami 10 years from now, the company?
I think going from strength to strength, because I think we're going to come out of this lockdown as good as any other company in the industry.
Yeah.
And I think the potential is to get a bigger footprint in the United States. So we do okay in the States, but we'd like to get a bigger footprint in the United States, continue with our success in the UK and Europe. I think we'll be one of the guys that come out of it okay. And just, I think in 10 years' time, we'll be in a healthy position. Definitely. I think so.
Yeah, definitely hope so also. I have one last question. We're going to be interviewing Beatriz Mesquita in the next interview. She's a really good competitor from Brazil who has done, I don't know the exact number, but she has the record of the most black belt world champion medals, golden medals. And if you check out her accomplishment, it's a really long list. I was wondering if you have a specific question for her that we can ask her.
That's a specific question. Let me have a think of that one now. How does she feel? As you've just mentioned, she's got the most run of successful black belt medals in the world. How does she cope with the pressure of having to defend these medals year in, year out, and the success that she's had? Does she feel a tremendous amount of pressure, or does she go into every event happy to be there and just happy to see what unfolds?
Yeah. That's a very good question. Cool. Yeah, thank you very much. It will add value to the next interview. It's supposed to be sort of a chain question, so we were going to interview Adam Warzinski yesterday, and he was supposed to have a question for you, but he had to. I don't know. He couldn't make the interview. Had to teach, so I don't have a question for you from him, unfortunately. But we'll try to get that out of him still for you. Well, Lee, thank you so much for your time and also for sharing all this with us and your background, some tips and tricks for competitors that want to get sponsored, and the background of Polaris. And we hope to see you and Tatami coming out of the lockdown and the crisis very soon. And
yeah. Thanks for having me on, Misha. Really appreciate it. And it'd be great to have you back in Wales another time, and we can get a beer together and kick back. Yeah,
thanks definitely. Very much. Yeah, thank you. Looking forward to that. Have a great day.